Who was the master of propaganda, Augustus or Cleopatra? Now there's a question that has puzzled historians for centuries. Propaganda, you see, is not a modern invention. Its roots dig deep into the soil of ancient civilizations, where it was wielded as a powerful tool to shape the public perception and, by extension, the course of history. In the grand amphitheater of ancient Rome, two figures stand out for their use of this potent weapon: Emperor Augustus and Queen Cleopatra. Both were masters of the art, using it to craft their images, cement their legacies, and manipulate the world around them. Augustus, Rome's first emperor, was a man of many faces. He was a shrewd politician, a cunning strategist, and above all, a master manipulator. He knew the power of perception and used it to his advantage, transforming himself from a fierce warrior into a benevolent ruler in the eyes of his subjects. He used art, architecture, and even the humble coin to tell his story, a story of peace, prosperity, and unrivaled power. Cleopatra, on the other hand, was an enigma. She was a queen, a goddess, and a seductress. She was a symbol of beauty and power, a woman who could bring the mightiest men to their knees. She understood the power of image and used it to her advantage, crafting a persona that was as captivating as it was controversial. Through art, monuments, and even the currency of her time, she projected an image of strength, intelligence, and divine favor. The stage is set, the players are ready, and the stakes couldn't be higher. These two titans of history, Augustus and Cleopatra, are about to go head-to-head in a battle of wits and wills, a battle that would shape their reigns in the course of history. Augustus, the first emperor of Rome, was not just a ruler, but also a master of public image. Now let's delve into that. Augustus's reign was not born of a democratic vote, nor was it a divine right passed down through generations. It was the result of a bloody civil war, and he needed to legitimize his power swiftly and convincingly. But how does one do such a thing? Well, if you're Augustus, you use propaganda, and he was a veritable maestro of it. Public works were one of his favorite tools. He transformed the city of Rome from a city of bricks to a city of marble, as he famously claimed. He commissioned grand structures, roads, and aqueducts. These were not just infrastructural improvements, they were visual reminders of his reign, symbols of a stable and prosperous Rome under his guidance. But Augustus didn't stop at buildings. No, he understood the power of the small, the everyday. So, he turned to coinage. On one side, a depiction of his face, a constant reminder of who was in charge. On the other side, symbols of divine favor, prosperity, or military victory. These coins were not just currency, they were miniature billboards, circulating his image and his message throughout the empire. Monuments were another weapon in Augustus's propaganda arsenal. Perhaps the most famous of these is the Arapatsis, or Altar of Peace. This grand monument, adorned with intricate carvings, celebrated the peace and prosperity brought by Augustus's reign. It served as a physical testament to his divine favor and his role as Rome's protector. But remember, all of these were not just structures or coins. They were strategic moves in a calculated game of public perception. Augustus was selling an image, a brand, if you will. He was the symbol of a new era, a beacon of stability and prosperity. In the grand scheme of things, Augustus was not only a ruler but a brand, a symbol of a prosperous and powerful Rome, and that, my friends, is the power of image done right. On the other side of the Mediterranean, Cleopatra was weaving her own web of influence. This Queen of the Nile was more than just a ruler. She was a master manipulator who understood the power of perception and knew how to use it to her advantage. Cleopatra's reign was marked by strategic alliances, the most notable being with Julius Caesar and Mark Antony. These alliances weren't just political maneuvers, they were carefully crafted performances designed to bolster her image both at home and abroad. Cleopatra presented herself as a partner to these powerful Romans, not a subordinate, defying the traditional role of women and monarchs in the ancient world. But how did she maintain this image of power and equality within her domain? She used the universal language of the time, art. In Egyptian art, Cleopatra was often depicted as Isis, the goddess of magic and wisdom, emphasizing her divine right to rule. Her likeness was carved into enduring stone, forever capturing her regality and power. And Cleopatra didn't stop at art. She understood the importance of symbolism and used it to further assert her divinity and legitimacy. She was often portrayed with symbols of power, such as the double crown of Egypt or the vulture headdress of the goddesses. These symbols were not chosen at random but were deliberate choices to reinforce her authority and status. Coins, too, became a medium for Cleopatra's propaganda. She was the first Ptolemaic ruler to issue coins bearing her own image. Not only did this reinforce her presence and power, it also allowed her to control her own narrative, presenting herself as she wished to be seen. In all these ways, Cleopatra skillfully manipulated her image, using every tool at her disposal to maintain her power and control. She was not just a queen, but a symbol of Egyptian pride and resilience, a living, breathing embodiment of her nation's spirit and strength. Cleopatra was more than a queen, she was a goddess, a beacon of Egyptian pride and resilience. So, what happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object? Picture this. Emperor Augustus, a masterful politician and a shrewd manipulator, pitted against Cleopatra, the queen of persuasion, in a battle not of swords and spears, but of words, images, and public perception. This was a clash of titans like no other, a propaganda war waged in the heart of ancient Rome and Egypt. Augustus, the unstoppable force, was a cunning strategist who knew the power of image and reputation. He cleverly spun a narrative painting Cleopatra as a seductress, a danger to Rome and its people. He used her reputation for exotic allure and her relationship with Mark Antony to cast her as the villain, a threat to Rome's stability. He demonized her, making himself appear as the savior of Rome, the only one capable of defending the empire against Cleopatra's perceived menace. On the other hand, Cleopatra, the immovable object, was no less cunning. She capitalized on her exotic image, embracing the role of the seductive queen that Augustus tried to pin on her. But she did more than just accept this image. She used it to her advantage, leveraging her relationship with Mark Antony to secure alliances and present herself as a formidable power, not a threat but a queen worthy of respect and admiration. This was a war fought not in battlefields, but in the minds of the people. It was a war of perception, a war of narratives. Each side sought to control the story, to shape the public's opinion, to cast the other as the enemy while painting themselves as the hero. In the end, this war of words and images was a testament to the power of propaganda, a showcase of how perception can be shaped and manipulated to serve one's goals. It was a battle of wits and cunning, a dance of deception and persuasion. In this war of words and images, both Augustus and Cleopatra proved themselves masters of manipulation. But who won this war of propaganda? And what was the impact of their battle on history? To answer these questions, we need to reflect on the legacies Augustus and Cleopatra left behind. The aftermath of their propaganda war was monumental, shaping not only their own narratives but also the world's perception of rulership. Let's start with Augustus. The first Roman emperor is remembered as a wise and just ruler. His image, carefully curated through art and architecture, became the standard for what a leader should be. He was a man of the people, a champion of peace and prosperity. But beneath this facade, he was a master manipulator who used propaganda to solidify his rule. The effects of his tactics are still visible today, as leaders worldwide use similar strategies to control public perception. On the other hand, Cleopatra, the last pharaoh of Egypt, has been vilified and exoticized in history. She's often portrayed as a seductress rather than a capable ruler. But look closer and you'll see a woman who used her image to her advantage, leveraging her portrayal in art and coins to assert her power and maintain her rule. Her story serves as a reminder of the power of narrative, and the role propaganda plays in shaping our understanding of history. The legacy of their propaganda war goes beyond their individual narratives. It changed the way rulership was perceived, and how leaders communicated with their subjects. The use of art, architecture, and coinage to convey a message to create a persona has been replicated time and again throughout history. In today's world, where media is increasingly powerful, we can see the echoes of Augustus and Cleopatra's tactics in the political propaganda of modern leaders. They've left us with a blueprint of how to use narrative and image to sway public opinion and maintain power. In the end, both Augustus and Cleopatra left an indelible mark on history, not just through their reigns, but through the power of their propaganda.